Hello everyone and welcome back to TowerGate. It is TowerGate day number 347. It is Monday, February the 19th, 2018. Thank you so much for tuning in. Okay, well this morning I got up and did my usual routine. Sunday morning, got up and had some coffee and was looking through the news and stuff, and I stumbled upon this story, and it's a story and they're talking to this number two, the VP, the vice president at Facebook, number two man. And it's extraordinary. He says in regards to that 37-page indictment, which largely points the finger at Facebook and Instagram and other social media for allowing these Russians to buy all these ads. And he makes a couple of very, very good points. One of them is a bombshell if it's true. And I haven't checked on it, but I'm certainly going to. Well, he says basically that this big major purchase that they're talking about, the $29 million purchase of all these ads that were running on Facebook, he says these ad purchases happened after the election. After the election. That's the number two man, the vice president at Facebook, saying that these ads that they're being targeted for, they were purchased after the 2016 election. Now, I'm surprised that Uncle Bob and the Hillary donor posse would put that in the 37-page indictment if they knew that these ad purchases were done after the 2016 election. It must have got by them. It's a very, very good stat. We'll certainly have to follow up on that and see if that is true. But he also said that right after all these things came out back in 2016 when they were talking about how the Russians had hacked our elections and used social media and things like that, he said they did a very in-depth analysis to take a look at exactly what level of ad purchases were done by these foreign entities. And he says, according to their findings, they found that Russian ads only accounted for 0.004% of the 2016 election ads. That's 0.004%. That's a minuscule number, as I've been saying, and other people have been saying had nothing to do, and even Rosenstein said it had nothing to do with the election. But they come out with this 130 or 37-page indictment to make it sound as if, you know, this is really a major issue and it's something we really need to be concerned about. You know, the Russians meddling in our elections and buying Facebook ads, and as if any Facebook ad ever changed anyone's opinion on who they're going to vote for. I think that's ludicrous on its face in itself. But it's quite telling that the number two man at Facebook, the VP, would come out and say, yeah, these ads, they were mostly purchased after the election, and total ads purchased through our company at Facebook only for 0.001%. 0.001% is what they totaled in total ads. I mean, Hillary spent $50 million a week. $50 million a week is what she spent on social media. So again, this just makes what's already been a laughable set of indictments for the past 2 or 3 days even more laughable. It's just ridiculous. And every day that people look at this indictment and analyze it closer and closer and start to tear it apart, it becomes more and more ridiculous as you move along and dig into it. So there you go. Unbelievable. Well, Jeff Sessions was on with Maria Bartiromo on Morning Futures this morning. I watched that, and man, I saw Maria Bartiromo. I thought she was going to blow a fuse. She was about this close, and only because she ran out of time did Jeff Sessions get off the hook. But she asked him about, you know, all these crimes that we see. And Sessions says that basically he said that the DOJ is investigating whether the FBI submitted accurate info about the Steele dossier to the FISA court. He says it will be investigated, but we're not going to talk about the details. Well, let me tell you what is so frustrating, and I could see it. I could see exactly what Bartiromo was thinking. It was the same thing I was thinking, and the same thing probably millions of people were thinking as they were watching this. What is driving people nuts is that all we keep hearing about is, oh, wow, we're going to have an investigation. We're going to look into that. We'll investigate that. We'll investigate this. We'll investigate. It never stops. They never stop the investigation. But to the average person in the real world who's sitting out here watching this stuff play out day by day, we can see the text of them talking about an insurance policy. We can see the text that tell us that they basically covered up the crimes of the rotten Reverend Clinton and didn't do a real email investigation. We know that Rodenstein signed off on one of those warrants based on the phony dossier. And of course, here's Sessions talking about what a great guy Rosenstein is. Talking about how much confidence he has in Christopher Wray, despite the fact that all these people around Christopher Wray were involved in a deep state coup. And we all know it. We're sitting back watching it. We've got the evidence. What more investigation do you need? And this is what's driving people nuts. And I could see Maria Bartiromo, that's exactly what she wanted to say to him. She wanted to say to him, because as he's explaining this, she's like, you could just see the tension in her forehead. She was like, she was dying to say exactly what I just said. She was dying to say, but Attorney General Sessions, we have had investigation after investigation after investigation. The public is reading these texts. The public is watching what's going on right in front of their very eyes. They can see what's going on. You don't always have to have an investigation. If I see a guy robbing a bank, if I see a couple guys in ski masks with machine guns and they're running out of the bank with bags of money, I don't need to investigate too long that there's been a fucking bank robbery. It's obvious there's been a bank robbery, and it's obviously there's been a coup d'etat. Attorney General Sessions, the overachiever, the eager beaver. Yes, investigations. We've had enough investigations. It's time for some prosecutions. Because this is what we always get. We'll investigate, and the investigations go on for weeks and weeks and months and years, and pretty soon everyone forgets about it, and then they all go away. Right now we have McCabe, the man from the insurance policy, the man who fixed the Hillary Clinton email case. This guy is involved in major obstruction of justice, major crimes, part of a coup d'etat. Where's he at right now? Probably sitting on the beach, collecting his full salary. It's a vacation, a paid vacation for Mr. McCabe. And here in a couple months, he's going to retire with full benefits. That's what's driving people crazy. We don't need an investigation to see that either. We're sick and tired of the investigations. They go on and on and on. We have enough evidence, already enough evidence. Comey, we sat right there and watched Comey lie under oath 4 times. We've got him. We've got him on video. It's on YouTube, Jeff. Watch the fucking video. We can see Comey lie 4 times. He's getting ready to go on a book tour. He's getting ready to go on a book tour. He should be in cuffs. That's what we say. If it was you or me or any of our neighbors and we got caught DUI, or we got caught selling a little weed, or we got caught smoking a little weed, or we got caught doing this or doing that, man, we'd be arrested on the spot. We'd spend the night in jail. We'd get bailed out the next day. We'd be in front of a judge in 3 days, and we would be in our court hearing in 2 weeks, and we would be in jail. These people commit the highest crimes, real serious crimes that have real implications for the country. And they're walking around gloating like the multimillionaires that they are. Susan Rice is a multimillionaire walking around scot-free. She has no fear, because she doesn't think anything will happen to her. The same with the rotten Reverend Clinton and her crooked peckered husband. They've been getting away with this stuff, including murder, for years. None of these people, not Rosenstein, not Comey, not McCabe, not Priestap, none of these people, none of them think they're going to see any penalty whatsoever. None. And that's what a lot of people here think. But watch my videos. A lot of Americans around the country, they see exactly what is going on with their very own eyes. They know crimes have been committed. There's overwhelming evidence. In fact, Attorney General Sessions, why don't you just pick up the 99-page FISA court document? The judge laid out the crimes in the 99-page FISA court document. Hundreds of cases of unlawful wiretaps, allowing third-party companies to access the most secure database in the world, doing 702 FISA 17 query searches on American citizens. There it is. Hard evidence by the Supreme FISA Court judge herself. Read it, General Sessions. It's right there. Take the 99-page FISA Court document and you can probably indict 50, 60 people who should all be in cuffs right now. Oh, but you're going to investigate. We're sick of the investigation. It's time for some prosecutions, Jeff. When that Inspector General report comes out, and I'm pretty sure it's going to be very damning to Comey and McCabe and Lynch and some of the others, if after that comes out and it shows clearly, in addition to all the other evidence we have of exactly what happened, and we get access to all this other information that we haven't had, and we sort through all that, and it's clear that there were incredible crimes committed at the highest level. If you do not act, Attorney General Sessions, and you do not perp walk a whole bunch of these people, you are going to have a big problem on your hands. A big problem. Because people are sick of it. You better be prepared to prosecute these perps. Because our patience is wearing very thin. And Maria Bartiromo was dying to say exactly what I just said. Podesta was over there on CBS being interviewed by Nancy Cortez this morning. It's kind of funny. And keep in mind, he was Hillary's campaign manager. He's responsible for her loss. Largely responsible for her loss. He ran the show. And she said to Podesta, she goes, it's funny, how could the Russians know to focus on those purple states, but Hillary didn't? And Podesta just said, well, we put tons of resources in there, and we worked real hard on all those states, and so it was part of our strategy. And she stopped him and said, no. Hillary didn't even go to Wisconsin, not even once. And he said, oh, well, well, Wisconsin, well, Chelsea went there, and Bill went there, and Obama went there twice. She just looked at him like, not good enough. But yeah, I mean, she made him look like a fool. And yeah, Podesta's largely responsible for the rotten Reverend Clinton losing, but she was going to lose anyway. Her negatives are higher than any politician that's ever run, as far as that I know, certainly in my lifetime. She's unelectable. And they thought they could ram her down our throat, and it did not work. They thought they could buy it for her, cheat it for her, and with all the help they were getting, my God, how could she lose? But she did. Yeah. When she looked over at Podesta, yeah, she didn't even go to Wisconsin. His face just kind of turned red. He got kind of a shit-eating grin look on his face. He knows. He knows. He knows exactly what he had to work with. Probably what he wanted to say was look at her and go, look, I was a campaign manager for Hillary, okay? She sucked as a candidate. She sucked. I did the best I could, but she sucked. No one could have gotten her elected. That's the truth. Trump, man, he was in ornery mood this morning. He was tweeting like crazy this morning. He tweeted out, called Adam Schiff the little, L-I-D-D-L-E, little leaking monster. Then he said that the Russians are laughing their asses off at us. He went after McMaster. And then, of course, he attacked CNN for their miserably low ratings, which is true. They've lost 30% of their viewers in the last year. Things are pretty bad over at CNN. But yeah, Trump was in an ornery mood this morning, and he was tweeting up a storm. Now, here's a very interesting article, again, something I stumbled onto from Jim Hoft over at the Gateway Pundit. I highly recommend you stroll on over to the Gateway Pundit and scroll down to the Jim Hoft story about the 2015 Radio Free Europe article compared to the 37-page indictments by Uncle Bob Mueller. So what they pointed out in this article is that that we've had a 16-month investigation, and Mueller ends up dropping basically a laughable series of indictments against these trolls. So someone on 4chan had discovered this story from 2015 from Radio Free Europe. It was an article that basically mirrors the Mueller 37-page indictment. It's a story about these very trolls in this very company that he targets. And it shows a picture of the building they're in. They interview these people, the same people he indicted, and they're talking, yeah, well, this is what we do. I mean, so in other words, this wasn't like a deep state Russia, deep government operation. These are people that operate in the open. They do this all over the world. They run these internet campaigns and stuff like that. It was really, nothing like what it makes it look like in the 37-page indictment. And what they did in this article, Jim Hoft does, is he takes big chunks of this article from this Radio Free Europe article from 2015, and he shows you, compare and contrast to all the companies and the people and the acts that are alleged to have been taken that resulted in the indictments, and it looks like a mirror. I mean, literally, it looks like the only thing you can conclude at the end of this, reading this and looking at this and reading this article, is that almost like the Mueller team literally took this 2015 Radio Free Europe article and just kind of copy and pasted a bunch of stuff from it and threw in some indictments and dropped the names and the name of the company in there and put together their indictment. It is literally a story from Radio Free Europe in 2015 that's a mirror image of the indictments that were dropped on these people in this company a couple of days ago. It's absolutely fascinating, and I highly recommend that you take a look at it. Go to the Gateway Pundit and Jim Hoff, scroll down and read the story and take a look at the story, the exact wording, the people, the name of the company, the people they name, and then look at the 37-page indictment. It's crazy. It is literally crazy. You've got to see it. Alrighty. Joe Biden was giving a speech in Munich, and a lot of people are saying, based on the speech he gave, that he's setting the stage for a 2020 run. That's funny, because in case Uncle Joe may not be in touch with the left wing of the Democratic Party right now, but they're not really down with white guys, especially white corporate politicians, that served under Obama and supported Hillary. I think that the only person that the far left wing radicals of the Democratic Party are going to tolerate is someone, number one, of color, and they got to be a female. They're not really down with white males right now in that party. I don't think it's going to go very well. Now, I hope he does. I wish he was the 2020 candidate, because Joe Biden's a horrible candidate. He's a gaffe monster. I mean, the things that come out of his head and the things he says are just absolutely extraordinarily stupid. And he will get waxed if he runs against Trump in 2020. That won't even be close. But I don't even think he'll win the primary. Because again, I think the left wing of the Democratic Party is so far off the charts at this point that they despise white men. And they really despise white men who come from the corporate background. And I just don't see it happening. I just really don't see it happening. I don't think he wins the primary. But it appears that Biden is using some language that sounds like he's planning a 2020 run. God, I hope so. Judicial Watch has filed a lawsuit against the State Department requesting records on former UN Ambassador Samantha Power. She unmasked 260 Americans with zero explanation. Now, first they went through the normal process of doing the Freedom of Information request forms, and they got no response. So they're going to do what they always do, which is sue. And we'll see what they come up with there at Judicial Watch, because quite honestly, he did some investigation and found that it's very, very unusual for a UN ambassador to even do one unmasking request, let alone 260. UN ambassadors generally don't do any unmaskings or anything like that. They're not even involved in that. So the fact that she would do 260 unmaskings with apparently zero explanation, all based on the phony dossier and everything going along with it, she's going to have a lot of problems. And I'm sure that she'll be one of the people called back, and probably one of the people that will come into the scope of the investigation as we move forward. And of course, we'll wait and see what Judicial Watch comes up with when they win that lawsuit, and which they will, and win that lawsuit and begin receiving these documents. Unbelievable. Comey, of course, is getting ready to go out and plug his new book, which is called, you ready for this one? A Higher Loyalty. That's his new book. That's the title, A Higher Loyalty. Now, I'll be very surprised to see what kind of response he gets with his book if he sells any copies. I'll be really surprised to see what kind of response he gets from the public when he goes out to do his book tour. I wonder how he's going to be received by the general public. I mean, the Democrats hate him because they think he cost Hillary the election by opening the email investigation. Republicans hate him because he didn't do a real investigation, and for all the other things he's been a part of, including the deep state coup. I don't know where his fan base is. Do you? Where's his fan base? Who are the people that's going to buy his book? And, of course, he'll be pushed on ABC, and whoever his publisher is, he'll be all over the networks, and they'll be kissing his ass. But once he goes out there and faces the public, I think he may be running into a very harsh reality that he's not prepared for. He also lives in a bubble, and he has a God complex. But I think he's about to be in for a rude awakening when he comes face to face with the general public, whichever side of the aisle that they are on. We have former 2016 Democratic presidential candidate Martin O'Malley making the following statement, quote, "America loves guns more than it loves kids." That is so bad. Somebody needs to just walk up and drill this dude right square in the chops, man, and just knock him out colder than a mackerel. He needs to be put into a coma. America loves guns more than they love kids. That's just absolutely disturbing that he would make a statement like that. You talk about a political hack, man. That is just absolutely uncalled for. I mean, that's how low these people are. They are absolute goodness. And people vote for these guys, man. People vote for these people. I don't know what's going on here. That is disturbing. Man, he won't come to this part of the country and say that. Maybe he'll get away with that in uptown Manhattan or somewhere. But man, I'll tell you what, this son of a bitch comes into where I live, in the county I live, and drops a statement like that, they'll hang him. He'd get hanged making a statement like that in the part of the neck of the woods I live in. I'll tell you right now, that is ugly. Liberals now calling for door-to-door gun confiscation. Well, that's nothing new. They do every time. The problem with that is, go ask a bunch of cops what they think about door-to-door gun confiscation. The cops will look at them and say, yeah, you want door-to-door gun confiscation? I'll give you my badge and my gun and my uniform, and you go do some door-to-door confiscations, and let's see how that works out for you. I mean, you want to see a civil war in this country, try door-to-door gun confiscation. Of course, it would be illegal because we have the right to keep and bear arms. But for these liberals who think that that's a great idea, and or whatever, I don't think they understand the reality. They must live in parts of the country where this type of idea is popular. Maybe they think it's popular everywhere. Maybe they should look at the map of all the counties that voted for Trump. 93% of counties voted for Trump. The country is almost entirely red, with the exception of a big swath over on the West Coast with California, Washington, and Oregon, and then on the East Coast with New York, New Jersey, and those little tiny states up in the East Coast. Everything else in the damn country's red. And you want to take all our guns? Come try it. See how that works out for you. I bet not a one of you liberals who would make a statement like that would have the courage to go to one single gun owner's house, knock on the door and say, yes, sir, I'm a liberal. I'm here to get your guns. Let's see how that works out for you. You get your ass tossed out on the street. That's exactly what you'll get. Maybe get a barrel of a 12 gauge shoved in your face. You get have some new dental work done when they knock your teeth down your throat. Very well done, liberals. That just shows you how much progress we're not making. And of course, we got Joy Behar of The View, who on her show the other day said Christianity is a mental disorder. Now, of course, when she realized, she's a dumb person, by the way, in case you're not familiar with Joy Behar. She's a real dumb, real idiot type, real low IQ type. Once she realized, because she didn't realize that was a stupid thing to say, but once she did realize it, once she was made aware of it, the next day she came out and said, oh, well, I was just joking. I mean, I'm a Christian. All my friends are Christians. All my family's Christians. We're all Christians. I was just making a joke that Christianity is a mental disorder. No, it's actually liberalism that's a mental disorder, and that's what you suffer from, Joy. And, yeah, no one believes you. She's not a Christian. There's not a Christian bone in her body. That woman is pure evil. Right along with all her friends on The View, not a Christian one among them. Not a one. Guarantee you, they laugh at Christians. They laugh at people who go to church and that whole type of thing. Believe me, these people have no respect. They hold Christians in disdain. You can see it play out every day on that shit show called The View. What a mess. I hate liberals. That's like I said a couple weeks ago. The people who want to negotiate with these people and talk to these people and try to work out a problem, screw that. It's not going to work. I know liberals, you can't talk to them. You can't reason with them. You can't negotiate with them. You can't do anything. They have no ability to reason. They have no common sense. The only way to deal with liberals is to defeat them. Defeat them. And let me tell you what, Mitch Twitch McConnell over there in the Senate, kill that rule for the 60-vote rule. Kill it. Kill that rule. 50 votes. From now on, everything, 50 votes. It's not supposed to work that way, but you weren't supposed to have a party that would completely stop participating in the governing of the country. That they would put the country in park so that they could carry out their political agenda. The Democrats in the Senate are not going to vote for anything that would give the president a victory. Nothing. Nothing, Mitch. They're not playing fair. They're not playing by the rules. They're not serving the country. It's on you now, Mitch. 50 votes. Change the rule. Harry Reid did it. And you need to do it too. You did it once to get the judge. I would do it for every damn thing. 50 votes from now on. Gets it all. That's what I say. Defeat them. Can't work with them, Mitch. Defeat them. Republican lawmakers, some are starting to get weak in the knees on gun control. I'm telling you, don't do it. If it was so popular, the Democrats would have done it. They're only playing to their base. And here's how you know. Because when they were in power, when they had Obama in the White House and Democrats controlling both houses of Congress, they rammed Obamacare down our throat without a single Republican vote. They could have done the same thing with any gun legislation they wanted. They could have done the same thing for the Dreamers and the DACA kids. Could have done it all, but they didn't. Because they know it's political suicide. They have no intention of doing any of it. They don't believe in any of it. It's all political. It's all just political. It's all it is. It's all political. They're positioning themselves with their base for the 2018 elections. It's all it boils down to. Don't fall for it, Republicans. Don't get weak in the knees. And don't forget, what you're talking about doing right now, not even the Democrats would do. Don't buy into their political BS. Wise up and defeat them. 50 votes. Mitch. Now let's talk about one last thing. They're talking about all the problems that we have. Yes, we need to secure the schools. We need to work on a lot of things. There's a lot of problems, mental health issues and things and such. But here's one thing you'll never hear them talk about on the mainstream media, not in the corporate media or anywhere else. They'll talk about all kinds of things, but there's one topic they will never get anywhere near, and that is the meds. The meds. One thing that we find in common with almost every one of these shooters, including the school shooters, including this latest one in Florida, kid was on antidepressants. Almost every single one of these mass killers that we see, especially the young ones, we notice that they're on some sort of antidepressant drugs, psychotropics and things and such. This is something, though, that you'll never hear talked about on the networks, on the cable stations, even on the radio. None of them. They don't even want to talk about it because they depend on so much ad revenue from these big pharma companies, and they donate heavily to political campaigns. They've bought and paid for, they've bought and paid so that they don't have to worry about suffering the repercussions of all the damn drugs that they've got all these kids on, which they should not be on in the first place. And so this is the place that they'll never go. Even Fox, and especially Fox, because look, what's Fox's viewership? It's the geriatric crowd, people over 60. What do they need? Meds. So every third commercial on Fox is for a pharmaceutical, some pill, some medicine. So they are terrified of the pharmaceutical companies. That's why ABC, NBC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, Fox, you name it, none of them, radio or TV, will not touch this issue. They'll never talk about the meds. But if you want to get to the root of the problem and figure out why so much of this is going on, in addition to some other things, but a big issue which they'll never ever talk about is the meds. These kids are so doped up on antidepressants and everything else, God knows what they're on. It doesn't help that they're being indoctrinated into a communist way of thinking, and that's no accident either. That was a plan that was set in motion 55 years ago. And now we're seeing the reality of what happens when your institutions of so-called higher learning become communist places where they teach communism and basically drive it into the brains of these young people. So they're so fucked up in the head between the medication and the communists' agenda. It's all they got going on in their head. It's a shame. We need to have a serious conversation about all these things in this country, but we need to start with the meds. That's where we need to start talking, not guns or anything else. We need to start talking about what these kids are on. Okay, so there you go. That's my thoughts on that. This is TowerGate, day 347, Monday the 19th. You guys have a good night. Thank you for tuning in. See you. Bye.